Oh,
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. As we've said, as we're going into season 4, as we've been since March of 2020, we are here every week in conversation with an artist to learn more about them, their art, their process. My name is simply Sherry. And if you've been here before, you're like, wait a minute, there used to be 4 of y'all. Yes, there was 4. But now we've decided to go with a 3-host format at this point. My week is called From Behind the Microphone, where we take the time to get to know the person behind the performance, because performers are people too. At this time, we ask you to let your friends and everybody know that we are here live and in person on YouTube, on Facebook Live. If you're listening to us later on Spotify, hey.
Hey.
Hey. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Girl Genius.
Hey, everyone. I am also background doing all the things that always happen in the background that y'all never get to see, like posting to social media, making sure you guys are joining us and listening and, getting in on these really fantastic interviews. I'm very excited to be here. My segment is called Let's Talk About the ... usually books. But the point of it is to talk about like the process to get to the tangible object. Like, I have this really great idea. I've done this whole thing. What does it take to get from point A to point? I usually call it point G because it's never ever point B. It's never ever straight. There's always some things that happen in the middle. So that's my segment. Yep, we're back to a 3-poet format. This is fan-freaking-tastic. I'm excited about tonight's guest. I've actually had this guest on my segment before, but we're going to take this from a whole new angle. So this is going to be fantastic. I'm glad she's back. This is going to be great, because I definitely have some questions. But I won't hold you up any longer. I'll let you get to it. I'm going to kick it to this week's host, and that would be, look, the point is easy this week.
I was going to say, you got the easy point, I got
the easy point this week. So I'm going to pass it to KaNikki J.
Thank you, guys. Welcome, everybody. Sherry already said that. What she didn't say is that everybody, including us, every week, volunteers their time to be here. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see scrolling. If to support us financially, we have our Cash App. It is, of course, Keep the Mic On, so you can continue to support us financially, so that we can continue to keep the mic on. Yay! So I had to say that, and I don't know if we said. Make sure it's good that you're watching. Thank you, but make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
We need
6 away from that 100. 6 away from that 100.
We're almost there. Come on. We can make it. I promise you, we can make it. Subscribers.
Yeah.
Because that would make life so much easier on us.
Yes. Please. Mm-hmm. This little piece of hair is gonna bother me all night. But anyway, it is my segment this week. I am very super duper fantastical excited because I get to bring on one of my favorite people, and I'll tell you about it in our interview, how she's my poetry wife. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I always say, by the time I read a bio, it's already expired. So I already know I got this bio from her. I'm going to read it, and it's going to be other things that we'll touch on the stuff in the bio, but I know there's other things that have happened that the bio needs to be updated. So tonight, our very special guest is Cassandra IsFree. She is a 4-time published author, spoken word artist, slam poet, playwright, and award-winning actress, and she's from Norfolk, Virginia. She's a founding member of Verb Benders Slam Team from Hampton Roads, Virginia, currently ranked number 5 in the world. She is a 10 times Right About Now slam poetry champion, a 2-time Word is Right slam poetry champion, a 2-time Pure Ink slam poetry champion, and Verb Benders Grand Slam champion. Cassandra IsFree is ranked number 9. I was there. She's ranked number 9 female slam poet for Women of the World Poetry, as well as number 3 ranked slam poet for Right About Now Worldwide Poetry League. She has been published nationally and internationally in publications including Bareknuckle Poetry Journal in Australia, Tokyo Poetry Journal in Japan, and Defunkt Magazine in the US. Cassandra was selected in the 2021 as a winner of poetry on the Pavement contest for the City of Norfolk, Virginia, and her poems are now stenciled into sidewalks throughout the city. She is an educator and a mentor who loves the stage. So welcome, 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 welcome back again.
Hey.
So glad to have you. Welcome back. Loving the earrings and loving
Thank
the
you.
lip. Loving the lip.
Thank
Loving the
you.
lip, loving the
I
lip.
wanted to make it pop a little bit. I said I gotta make
You
it
did
pop a little bit.
You
Yes.
did it. You did. I just got a little eyeshadow on. That's all we got to do. A little eyeshadow.
That's all you needed. Oh, it looks good.
All I need was a little eyeshadow. A little eyeshadow.
It's
So
perfect.
I am going to ask you, before I start asking you all the things, I'm going to ask that you start us off with a piece. So I'm going to remove myself. You start us off with a piece, and then we'll come back and ask them some things, some questions.
Okay, boom. That time I thought my wings were clipped, where I was less eagle, more emu, too emo to overcome emotions. Bagged up feelings until they became too heavy to carry, I grounded myself, labeled me a flight risk, an inability to soar above my wounds, picking scabs of dead memories like a scavenger, a vulture, a buzzard, allowing negative thoughts to buzz around like a bee. The sting became addictive. Like a parrot, I repeated abusive words to myself, led to suicidal thoughts, believing any day would be my swan song. I'll admit the grief came in more at night and left me in mourning like a dove, too many ruffled feathers in me with no flock to migrate to, imprisoned in a jail of my own creation, wanting to fly free, but I was now a caged bird. But like a caged bird, I did not just sing. Like a hummingbird, I hummed a few words of encouragement to remind myself that things get better. A little bird told me that I am that chick, that some days you are the pigeon and other times you are the statue. In other words, things happen, so just shake your tail feather and keep going. Knock out this depression and rebuild this confidence. Kind of like killing two birds with one stone. I will not go back to feeling like a lame duck, an ugly duckling. Instead, I'll just sit pretty as a peacock, because that sadness is for the birds. It's gone south for the winter, but I have this spring in my step. No place for self-hate. Days of being a silly goose are over. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
I said, wow. I was screaming, wow. I went to the kitchen to get some water, but I was screaming, wow, from the kitchen. I was screaming, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
What I love most about you is you're very vulnerable in your poetry. I always know we did a lot of things together over the pandemic, during the pandemic time. We were able to see each other a lot, so that was a plus. We did a lot of online things, and even with being online, your stage presence, even though we're on the computer, is still present there. It's still present there. So I gotta interview you like I don't know you.
Okay.
And that's always hard, right? Because I can't assume, we have to always ask those questions that everybody always asks, right? You get tired of when you're a poet and you perform, you get tired of answering the same questions, but you have to also keep in mind that there are people who are seeing you for the first time, right? So they don't know the main thing, like who inspires you to write? How long have you been writing? So, but let's start with, how long have you been writing? We got to know.
Wow. So I have this poem that starts, so someone asked how long I've been a poet, and it just goes into how I can't really remember the time before, because I feel like I've always written. I haven't always shared, you know what I mean? But that's not the question, and that's what people confuse sometimes. Right. It's the difference between how long have you been writing and how long have you been sharing what you've written. So I started out writing Roses Are Red poems when I was probably 5. To my parents when I would sign their little greeting cards and stuff. Roses are red, violets are blue. You're my mommy and I love you. You know what I mean? Something as simple as that. So it goes back to childhood, definitely, early childhood.
Definitely. So how were you introduced to the stage in performance poetry?
Okay, that's a great question. And you'll love the answer. I'm going to say maybe 2009-ish. I was asked by a friend of mine who knew that I wrote, but I wasn't really sharing. She asked me to write a poem for a cancer benefit. So I said, okay, I'll do it for you. You know, it's a good friend of mine. And she said, I have some other poets coming that are kind of like established in the community. So then I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. So she said, they're all going to come to my house, come to my house. So I went to her house to meet these two poets. One of them goes by the name of Balik Wack, and the other one goes by the stage name of Godchild the Omen. So when I met these guys and I heard them, I was so like, I was in a zone listening to them. But then I found out that they both told me that I was a good writer. So at that time, Godchild the Omen had an open mic that he hosted every Wednesday on Granby Street in Norfolk, Virginia, called Fuzzy Wednesdays. So he kept saying, you need to come out to my open mic. I'm telling you, the crowd is going to love you. They're going to love you. So I finally got over my nerves and I went, and the crowd rocked with me. And I started coming back, and I just started coming back every week. And I started realizing there were other open mics that I could also go to kind of get my feet wet. So that is how I got my start. It was because of the encouragement from my friend Balit, but also the opportunity from our friend Godchild the Omen, who had the really dope open mic. So I never stopped. I hit the ground running, and I never really stopped.
Let me say, what's the name of it? I got Warm Wednesdays on my mind. He hosted
Fuzzy Wednesdays.
Fuzzy Wednesdays. I got Warm Wednesdays on my mind.
I miss it.
Yes, come on back with it. It'll be a lovely thing.
Definitely.
So, who did you? Okay, this is what I always think. People that can sing, other people tell them they can sing, right? Like you're in church or you're singing, and they be like, "Girl, child, you can sing," right? So other people, because I think like when the voice comes out, anybody think they can sing, right? So you're not really listening to yourself sing, right? So who affirmed you? Who, other than you, who said you are a poet and you believed it?
For the sake of performance. The crowd.
The crowd. That's a great answer.
The crowd, because your friends will tell you that you sound okay, but that crowd is not going to lie to you, especially not, like I said, the crowd that I started out with, which was like our own version of Apollo. If you weren't good, you knew it because they either didn't respond or you heard some boos, because I used to hear people get booed, like, glad it ain't me.
Wow, that's a great answer.
The crowd.
I'm gonna quote you on that. This give you some quotables. I'm gonna have to quote you on that. The crowd. That's a great answer. So I want to like delve into. I want to skip. I don't want to skip around. So who gave you your first feature?
Let's see. My very first feature. Oh, you know what? It was in Newport News, Virginia, at a bookstore. It's called UBUS, and his name was Terrence McKinley. This was so long ago that I really hope I'm not saying the name wrong, but it was my first feature. First like full set. It wasn't like an open mic. Hey, come on, get on the mic for me on my open mic. This was actually people were coming to see me, and it freaked me out because I didn't think anybody was going to come. But people were waiting for me when I got there. But this was maybe like 2010.
Okay.
And it was a small, intimate African-American owned bookstore. It was amazing. And they had a wall of fame. And I ended up being the first female poet on that wall of fame that they had. I was their first female feature. And they had plenty, but I was their first female feature. But that was maybe 2010. It was UBUS bookstore.
That's amazing. So are you comfortable on stage or are you nervous?
Yes. Yes.
Good answer.
I am always nervous. I'm nervous right now, and I'm not even in person. But I'm always nervous. But then when I walk up to the mic, I forget myself and I become my poem. And that's just what you get. That's what you're going to get from me. So like, it's kind of like Cassandra will walk up nervous, but then Cassandra IsFree does the poem, and it's it's like Sasha Fierce and Beyonce type of split personality. I have to do this. So I have to become whatever I need to become to make it good for you.
Mm-hmm. So do you prepare for your feature sets?
Yeah. Funny story about creating a list, because my pockets now in 2023, my pockets are deep enough that I can do this, but I'll prepare a whole set. I've done it coming to Busboys with you. I'll prepare a whole set, and it's a 4-hour drive to get to you. So I'll do that set 2 or 3 times throughout the drive, and then I'll get there and I'll see the crowd and read the room, and I change my whole set.
Change your whole set. Yeah.
I change my set in a heartbeat. The only thing that never changes really would be my opening poem and my closing poem, because those are solid within my set, because I have a poem that I'll close every set out with every time, because I always dedicate it to the other artist. And then the opening one, well, it's 1 or 2 for the opening one, but either one always works. So that never really changes. But whatever's in the middle, you're gonna get whatever I feel like y'all gonna take when I actually see who's there.
Yes. I love it. I do the same thing. I'll change. I'll be like, this is not the crowd for this. Or you'll get there and see the people.
Right.
Or the poets before you, you like, oh, this is not the poem. This is not the poems for these people. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Definitely. That's why that diversity.
Yes, definitely. So how do you memorize your poems?
Majority.
Are you okay with reading?
I love to read. Normally when I do a poem out of one of my books, I'll just read it. I think the only book that has a couple of slam pieces in it is my last book, which is Double Entendre. That's the only one that probably has a couple of slam pieces in it, a couple of 1 minutes, to be honest. But normally I memorize, and I think that's come with my training myself in slam poetry. But I also try not to get lost in just being a slam poet, because I'm still a spoken word artist and I'm still a feature artist. So I kind of have to make sure I differentiate between the two.
Gotcha. So I'm glad you brought up slam. Let's talk about that. I know many people, they'll ask me, can you come and host a slam? Do you really? Because people think that all poetry open mics are slams. People be, they'd be like, this is slam. Be like, okay, are you looking for a competition? Because slam is competitive poetry.
Right.
Or, a closed mic, a open mic, or whatever. So you have to kind of explain that to them. So do you consider yourself, do people introduce you as a slam poet? Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it, because it's one of the components that makes me who I am now as an artist, in the journey that I've had since I first started up to now. It's one of my strongest components. It's I find that I actually love slam. I love slam, not necessarily even for the competitiveness of it, but just for the support that I see sometimes within the different slam families. Even when you didn't get a 10, but your family still loves you. They're still looking out for you. They're still supporting you. And I love that aspect of it so much. So I identify as a slam poet.
So did you start off in the beginning slamming, or when did slam become part of it?
So I definitely started out as a shy girl where the paper was shaking when I was reading. And that morphed into someone who would memorize for features. And then that morphed into somebody asking me to do a slam when I feel like they didn't know what a slam was when they organized it. And I didn't know either. So I came out and I was still doing the regular, reading like for an open mic. I didn't realize what slam entailed until about 2016, when the very first slam master of my team, Verb Benders, which is Katrina, who goes by the name Hurricane, she introduced slam to us. She said, well, there's an organization that does slam every year, and we're going to try to build a team from the 757 from Norfolk to get together. So I studied, and I started studying slam poets. Like, this is different, but I think I can do it. So I ended up falling in love with slam around 2016, 2017.
Gotcha. So how long was it? Do you remember how long was it? How many slams were you in? Was it like a long time before you started winning slams?
So the very first slam I did, like I said, that was in maybe 2012, when the organizer put something together. I didn't win. I didn't know what I was doing, but I got educated that night because there were some genuine slam poets there. So I did learn that night. And then when we decided to build the team in 2017, I made the team. I mean, you know what I mean? So I won, one of the preliminaries so that I could go to the Grand Slam. The Grand Slam came and I won my spot on the team. So I have continued to win. You got to get your spot every year. That's just always happened, be it one of the top 4 or be it as the alternate. I've always been on the team. So I tend to, I'm not saying I win every time, but I haven't lost.
Yeah. So we had you on here before. We welcome you back again in a different. We had you on. Let's talk about the book. So we're talking about your books in another segment with Girl Genius. But so now we're talking about you and your platforms because we got you on the other side of the platforms. But when did you publish your first book? What year was that?
That was in 2020.
2020. Okay.
2020, and I actually published two together. They came out within a couple of weeks of each other. The first one to drop was called 42. And it was the year that I turned 42. I actually got the books in my hand on my birthday, on my 42nd birthday, from my publisher, Teach. And it was a collection of 42 love poems, not necessarily your typical, love. It was like a lot of self-love, relationship love, a lot of, love, hate, and just things that we go through, things that I had learned over that 42 years of my life. So that's probably one of my most important books because it was a reflection of me at the age of 42.
Gotcha. I have both. I have what's the other book? What's the other book?
The other book, and did I say it might have been 2019. I think it was 2019.
It was 2019.
It was 2019. I had to think about it because I turned 45 last year.
You came here with the book.
Okay, you're right.
We were in person. Yeah.
So in person. So the other three books, the other book that I dropped with 42 was my book of haiku and American sentence called Quote Me Bish, which everybody always loves the title, but it is you're gonna want to read it as Quote Me Bish. So it is, like I said, a lot of haiku. There are American sentence, and then a lot of people don't know this. There's a part of the book where I actually went through some of my Facebook posts that had the highest engagement. And a lot of them would be just funny stuff that I would say because I used to do stand-up comedy. Shh, don't tell nobody. But so I have a sense of humor. That's all I'm saying. I have a little sense of humor.
You didn't know it.
But I took some of the ones that were funny and that had good engagement that I thought reminded me of like the anecdotes from Reader's Digest. And I wanted to include that in the book. So that's in there as well.
Okay. And we can find those on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're on Amazon, but the links are on my website, CassandraIsFree.com.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Were you a mother when you started the stage, when you got on stage? Were you already a mom?
Not in the traditional sense, because I've always worked with youth. I've always had a child calling me mama, that's my mama, or somebody that I love like a son, like a daughter. But I started really performing around 2010, and I didn't have my son until 2013, almost 2014. Gotcha. So I had a couple of years to kind of establish myself and be free. Cassandra is free and be free to go before, the duties, the wonderful duties of motherhood hit me over the head hard. Yeah.
So because a lot of times, so I want to touch on this because a lot of times when you become a mother, people, expect, especially the woman, to stop doing their art, right? Somebody texted me the other day and was like, are you still doing poetry since you got a new baby and everything? Yes, child. And the baby be right there, right? So yeah, you might hear some of the baby tonight. She might co-host. She might come on here later. We don't know. But so what happened? How were you able to juggle motherhood and poetry?
Am I juggling it? No. What I did with my son, because I have two children now, my husband and I have two children, but my son was a special circumstance in that when he was born, he ended up going to NICU for the first 3 months of his life. So my focus automatically became him. Right. Everything else was shut down. I took a hiatus. I told everybody I was taking a hiatus. I said, I'll be back whenever I'm able to commit. But right now, this is my priority. So I think my hiatus probably, because I performed the whole time I was pregnant until I had to actually stop and go on the bed rest that the doctor put me on. But once he was born, once he went to the hospital, he came home. And then my mother-in-law passed away. So there was a lot going on in the family, like around that time. He was 6 months old when she passed away. So I probably took a year off from actually going out, showing my face. And a lot happened in that year in our art scene. A lot happened. So I almost had to rebuild because I would hit the stage and people didn't know who I was. But just a year ago, I was a hot commodity. So I had to rebuild and get back out there and put my name back out there, which I did, but put my name back out there. But I took the time that I needed and I didn't pressure myself to return. I returned when I was ready and when I felt like my family could handle me going.
That's great. That's great. Great advice. Great advice. So, when you got married, did your poetry change?
No.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. It didn't. No, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say not to a strong extent of, where people wouldn't recognize it. Like that's Cass wrote that, because most of my poetry has always been socially conscious.
Right.
Occasionally I would write, a poem about a relationship, not necessarily mine, sometimes just one that I saw somebody else dealing with. And I could still write those things. I could be deeply in love with my husband, but I could still write a F you boy poem if that's what I feel like writing.
Right.
So he being in my life and
good.
playing the role he plays didn't change that.
Gotcha.
Didn't change my pen at all. No.
Gotcha. So who is your poetry for?
That's a great question. I always say I write for me. I do. Initially, everything I write is for me. But when I realized this last year, when the poems, which you read in my bio, when they went on the sidewalk, and I brought my children to see their mother's stuff on the sidewalk, I realized that I'm writing for me, but I'm leaving a legacy for them that they can show their children, who can show their children. So I'm writing for the generations that are to come as well. In addition, but it starts with me. I got to write for me first.
Yes,
so
I saw that.
I owe that to myself.
I saw that. Congratulations on that. That is wonderful.
It was amazing.
I'm trying to ask the questions that the people want to have the answers to. You don't just do poetry, you also host. You've hosted, you've presented shows and things. I've been booked on things that you have done. What do you think the job of the host is?
I feel like the host has two jobs. The main job is to keep the crowd engaged in what's going on in the show, because especially when it's an open mic and you have stuff going on in between the artists coming up, that's when that dead air, if you allow a whole bunch of dead air, that's when you lose your crowd. Sometimes they get up and they start walking around, talk, hey girl, I ain't seen you since last week, and doing all this different stuff. But now you have a performer up there, so you have to, you have to do what you have to do. So part of the job of the host for me, when I host, is to make sure that the audience is all right. And also to then make sure that my artist is all right.
Right.
I need to, so it's kind of split, but I'm going to work the audience, so that my artist doesn't have to.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
awesome. What I mean? So they don't have to. That whole respect the mic thing, I can't stand to go somewhere and I don't see the host trying to manage the crowd.
Yeah. Right. Agreed.
Can't stand to see that.
Yeah, I can say that, or should I ask you, do you think that hosting helped your stage performance?
I feel like probably, because it allowed me to see me in a different role. So it just kind of made me have to be comfortable in all aspects of being on that stage, so that sometimes when I'm up there as the artist, if I don't see the host doing what they need to do for, I must say classroom management, I'll do it. I'll do it. Even if it's not me on stage and I don't see the host doing it and it's another artist, I'm like, y'all need to respect the mic. There's an artist. I'll take it in a heartbeat. Y'all gonna be quiet and let them talk.
I'll do that. Yeah. My grandmother told me I got the voice to let my people go. She never told me that, because after that, honey, she ain't lie. She ain't lie. I know now. I know.
That's true.
Do you think that the internet contributes to the well-being of poets?
I think that the internet contributes to the arsenal that poets find to write about. But to the well-being, no, for multiple reasons. One, because now we're looking up all these other poets and comparing ourselves to them and stuff. And I haven't done this, they're doing that. Oh, they're going to meet with, this celebrity, and this celebrity shouted them out. I know celebrity shouted me out, but we stop doing that.
Wow.
Artists, stop doing that. What is for you is for you. And it's going to come when it's supposed to. So for that aspect of it, no, not if you're using the internet to try to look at what other artists are doing, when you need to just worry about what you need to do. Right. But as far as the internet providing ways to get your name out there, to, market what you have, I think that's excellent. I think that's excellent. That's something that really wasn't there, say, even 10 years ago, to the point that it is now. Even 10 years ago,
right?
Poets had to actually go and like call people like, hey, I might be in your city. If you have something, let me, you know what I mean? It wasn't like you could just DM me. We didn't have those things. So the internet is so tricky. The internet is so tricky, and then the way the internet works, as soon as you log on, news pops up. The first thing I saw this morning, prayers definitely, was that there was another mass shooting. That's the first thing I saw this morning when I did check my phone. And so for that will mess up your well-being, because you feel like, am I supposed to write about that? Am I allowed to write a happy poem right now when all this chaos is going on? And we take everything on our shoulders when we shouldn't. So that internet is tricky. That's a tricky question.
So do you think it's the responsibility of us as poets to write the time?
No.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because it would be forced. It would be forced if somebody ever said to me, you have to write about this specific thing or you're not a good poet. It would then be forced, and it wouldn't be good. Like poetry that's not genuine is never good. It's never good. It's just you trying to sound like what you want somebody to make you sound like, instead of sounding like yourself, which is the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do.
Okay. All right. We had another guest on here, and it's been a while ago. I can't remember who it was, but she spoke on, I didn't interview her, but she spoke on not writing about things that you haven't experienced. For instance, you don't write about sexual assault and you've not been sexually assaulted, right? How do you feel about that? Can we as poets, can we touch on things like that, like anything like mental health related, or things that we need healing from? Can we write about those things genuinely? Because you say if a poet, you have to write genuine poetry, and it's not genuine if it's not good if it's not genuine. Those are your words. It's not a good poem. So can you be genuine if it's not your story?
Yeah. You definitely can. I try to use the word empath loosely, but you can see something that someone is going through and you can feel for them. So when you're writing it, don't put yourself in their shoes when you write it. Don't write it as the victim, because that's where the problem comes in. But if you're writing it as outrage that you have on the outside looking in for what this person has to go through, yeah,
that's good.
But if you're just writing it as though this is happening to you, that's where the line, you have to kind of draw the line at, and the questions come like, but it wasn't you.
I got you. Okay. Who is there a poet that inspires you?
Ooh, a poet that inspires me. All right. I'm not. Make sure he don't tell him not to watch this. I'm gonna tell everybody else to watch this, but not him. One of my favorite poets, for multiple reasons. I just found another reason over the last couple of weeks to like him a lot, is Black Chakra. That's one of my favorite poets to listen to. The way that he crafts stuff and the way that the wheels turn when he writes and the way that he presents it is on such a different level to me. And it's not one that I'm trying to be on, because that's his level. That's why I say be you. I just like watching it and I like listening to it. He is one of those people as a writer that you want to be friends with, to say, can you listen to my poem? Because he's going to tell you if it's trash. Wow. He's going to tell you. I had the pleasure of judging an online slam with him, where we give feedback to those that are slamming. And his feedback was the stuff that you be wanting to say to people when you hear their poems sometimes, but you don't say it. You don't want to hurt their feelings, so you don't say it. He said it, and it was like he's telling you the truth. So take it and fix your poem. Right. And I appreciated that about him. I appreciate that about him as an artist. Instead of just, he don't sugarcoat it. He's like, look, this is what you got to do to make this better, because that ain't it. And so I appreciate that. But just him, to Black Chakra. Yeah, he's
who should he can't know.
Don't tell him.
I shout him out anyway. Yes, I love that. I love that thought of giving, because when you leave a slam, sometimes you're like, well, what happened? I don't know. You don't get the feedback. So I definitely, that's a good idea. I missed that. Wherever that was, I missed that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you because he does it. The host does it every month.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely send it to me. Okay, let me see if I ask you all my poet questions because we have to do the poet and the platforms. So I'm trying to see if I ask you all my poet questions. Anything anybody wants to know. Let me see. Let me ask you this. What are you doing right now that your future self is going to thank you for?
I am finishing grad school. For real. On top of everything else going on in the world. I'm finishing grad. It's been a journey. I started last March and I will finish this August. So it was fast track. Yeah, it was a fast track program that I didn't have to pay for. And that was major to me. That was super major to me. My employer and the university had a program where they kind of drew me in, and I had to
do it.
I had to apply, but I had to apply for it, and I had to beat out all the other hundreds of candidates, and they picked 20 of us, and to do this program to get this graduate degree. They told us it's going to be rough, it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard. You're not going to make no money. You're getting you have to resign from your salaried position for 1 school year because I'm a teacher, and and work off of this stipend, which is next to nothing, but it's a sacrifice for 1 year. So it was like, am I willing to make this sacrifice for 1 year so that my future self can be like, girl, we did that. And now we did it. So I'm struggling right now, but it's just for a few more months. So I'm proud now.
Listen, that's why y'all listening, live and on the playback. That's why you're gonna go buy them books because Valentine's Day is coming up, and you just when you want to buy these books and things and get them love poems, get these haikus and things and such and so forth.
Just read it.
Just read it. Just read it. That's what I'm saying.
Especially that one book.
During the pandemic online somewhere, I don't know, somebody that was, I don't know if it was my follower or your follower who was saying, hey, aren't y'all married? I'm coming to your show, online, and aren't y'all married? Yeah, but not to each other. I don't know who this was. I don't remember. All I know is after that, we were like, okay, we married, and this is my poetry wife. So you're going to be, you know what I'm saying? We got to share. So I don't know. Shout out to whoever that person was.
That was one of your followers, because I didn't know that person. That was one of your people. That was one of your people.
We get married to each other. I don't know.
But it fit. It made sense.
You want to give me to somebody, right?
It made sense, though. When I looked at it after the fact, I was like, okay. Because we cool.
Cool like that.
I mean, even though her profile pic might be her and her husband, and mine is me and mine, but
yeah, we married. So now on, so that's how whoever that follower was, that's how we became married. So so now I'll be like, this is my
for life.
Yes, for life. We in it, friends. So I said I was gonna tell that story. So that's the accelerated story. So now let me see, have I asked all the poet questions? Oh, one more. Why poetry? Of all the things. Why that?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Because it's really, it's gonna sound so corny and cliche, but I love it. I didn't choose poetry. Poetry chose me.
Poetry chose me. That be happening though, for real.
Yeah,
it does. So I will say, let me say for all the poets, that poetry can be very therapeutic, but poetry is not therapy. So let me just say that for all the people right fast. And yeah, somebody said we have to get her to come through at Sweet Royal in Portsmouth. So somebody shouting y'all, somebody wants you to come to Sweet Royal in Portsmouth.
DM me. We just talked about the internet. DM me under Cassandra Jenkins on Facebook.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you do. Okay. Now let's talk about the platforms. Okay. Let's talk about the platforms and things and such and things. So first, let's just bring up, what's today? 22nd. Next week, you are presenting an online, which means everybody can come, right? Online, right? So if you see Cass out, she is the bomb at doing haiku, right? So she is presenting a workshop called I Haiku, and you can too, at 5 p.m. on the 28th, and it's going to be on Zoom. Now check it. It's only $5. I don't know. First of all, I don't even know why it's $5, because you about to get way more than $5 worth of the situation right now. So I mean, if somebody want to come and they ain't got $5, keep the mic on. We're gonna support you right now today. If anybody, let us know. Send us an email. Make a post. We're gonna sponsor one person because I gotta sponsor myself. So we're gonna sponsor one person that would like to come to your online platform. So let's talk about what are we gonna learn? I know we're gonna learn some haikus, but what should we expect?
All right. So one thing about my workshops is that you actually write. And I say that because we probably all been to workshops where the person talks for like the majority of the time and you barely get an opportunity to write. I am presenting 3 formats: haiku, obviously, then another short form, which is called Senryu, and then American sentence. So each section has its own writing prompts and just instructions to what we're going to write and time to share and everything. So you're going to learn the difference between the 3 formats. You're going to learn how to format it in a timely fashion. You're going to learn how to take a small, teeny tiny poem, but drop a bar with it.
Oh, drop a bar.
It's good. Yeah. You're going to learn how to actually, because sometimes people feel like you have to have a long poem for it to be amazing. And one of my favorite poems that I've ever heard was actually a haiku by a poet named Ashley Hayes. And that's not my favorite haiku, but one of my favorite poems. Right. She did it at SoFi back in 2017 in the haiku slam and won with it. But it was one of my favorite. It became one of my favorite poems. So you can definitely drop a bar in, 17, 16, 15 syllables or, something to that effect. So that's what we're going to be doing. And it's great. And it's fun. Yeah. I presented this one before and we had a ball with it. I did it through Right About Now, but I'm doing it on my own this time. So it's going to be a little different, but a lot of the same good information. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. So please register.
That's next week, y'all. That's next week. So come on, jump on it. It's $5. Why is it $5?
That's what I was about to tell you. Because you asked. The reason that it's $5 is because I feel like it should be affordable. I feel like, because I'm so strong on education need to be free anyway. So I'm making it, that's practically free for real. It's $5.
Right.
If I wasn't raising money for my registration and trip to WALPS that I'm still trying to take, it would have been free.
Gotcha.
It would have been free, but I just happened to, I need everybody's $5 to go towards the fund. But if that wasn't the case, it would just be free.
Oh, wow. Because you're amazing. My workshops are not going to be free. I've been doing workshops too long. It's not gonna be free.
But your workshops are worth it. Trust me.
Yes. It'd be worth it. It'd be worth it. You know what I'm saying? I'll try to give y'all a little early bird. I'll give y'all a little early bird thing and whatever happening. So I saw online, and I don't remember. Like you were presenting some type of show. Are you hosting anything right now? Like an open mic or something that I don't know about?
All right. So one of my slam master and I, our current slam master of Verb Benders, Stephanie Lask, we actually were getting ready to co-host a show together. We did one show, and I'm going to say this. I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to bring this up for this reason. Poets, if you are asked to host something and the organizers are playing around with the money that they're supposed to pay you, it's okay to then say, this may not be the best fit for me.
Right.
And then step to the side. And that's what she and I ended up doing, because we are, we're honest artists. We pay our people on time. It's no discrepancies, no problems. So when I and you only get one time to play with me about something like that. Right. And then I just say, okay, I wish you the best, and thank you. So we're not hosting that event right now. We do have an event that we're hosting together in March that that information will be found on my page once we get the flyer up. We're doing something for Women's Month together. Okay. So that'll be on my IG, Cassandra _IsFree, as well as my Facebook page, Cassandra Jenkins. So as far as hosting anything, I'm limiting myself from now until September because I want to finish my grad degree. So, I've been working on, that, and then work itself, taking care of my family, working on my next manuscript that I have kind of started on, have a title for at least, and a couple of poems picked out. So I'm doing those things. I will host from time to time. I do a lot of private events because people are like, I don't see you out all the time. I can't go out all the time, but I'll come do private events. So I'm on the scene. You just don't always see me.
Right.
They just don't always see me. So as far as hosting, I don't have anything coming up, and I'm happy to say that other than my workshops. I'm actually relieved to be able to say that.
Yes. So will there be, so we're doing the haiku. Are there going to be other workshops other than that?
Absolutely. I want to do a monthly workshop. I want it to just be a thing that I do now. And it's always going to be $5, even after the competition even after WAPS, once I raise the funds for that, I'm still going to keep it at $5. And it's really going to be one of those, hey, I don't really have the $5, but I want to take it. And I'm going to give you the link. That don't mean tell me you don't have the $5 if you do. Right. But, I feel like I have been gifted with knowledge in certain areas. One of those is teaching. I'm a great teacher. I do it for a living with special education in middle school. So I know how to present things, but I've also been given the talent to write. So if that's something that I can share with people who are just starting, who really desperately need tips and really want to learn how to get their writing in order, then what type of person or artist would I be to not share that when art is supposed to live forever? I'm gonna die one day. So why die with all the knowledge that has been instilled in me? Why die with it inside of me when I could have shared it? That's crazy.
Wow. Oh, somebody said I just met your slam partner Virgo. The poet, is it Virgo?
Yeah. Virgo the poet. Yeah, he's great. He's actually coming up in the Grand Slam. That's live. Verb Benders Grand Slam on February 1st in Virginia Beach. And he's actually one of the slam finalists. He's dope.
Virgo. I like some Virgos. I like Virgos. What's your sign?
I'm a Capricorn. Capricorn.
I have to act you like I don't know. I told you I got to interview like I don't know you. I got to act
Capricorn.
Like I don't know you.
That's why I'm the GOAT.
Man. Okay. All right. I hear you.
I just celebrated my 45th birthday on December 30th.
Yes.
Crazy.
Fantastic. And we Capricorn. Both of us is Capricorns. We married and we Capricorns and things. Come on. What? I'm gonna get down to Norfolk and do some things. Come on. Soon. I'm gonna do it this year. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna have to come.
I'll hold you to that. I'll hold you to that.
I'm gonna have to do something. I'm gonna have a baby with me. The baby gonna either be on the hip or she gonna be on the stage. She gonna be up here. It's gonna be happening. Up there talking about hotel. So
that's what you do.
Hotel. It's gonna be on. So listen, what music do you listen to? What's some artists on your playlist?
So it's funny that you said that. Spotify gives this kind of like end of the year summary to you of the top 100 songs that you listen to for the whole year. And my taste is so diverse. I didn't realize how diverse it was until I looked at the list. It was like, it went from like Snoop Dogg to like Kirk Franklin was like the next song. And I was like, this is stuff the radio station does. Like, I'm terrible. I'm terrible. But I think one of my favorite artists right now is her. She's so incredibly talented. But then I read an interview with her where she's so humble. And you have people with half her talent who are half as humble. It's crazy. Right. But I'm finding myself really, really loving her music. She hasn't had a miss yet. Everything's been a hit for me. So she's probably one of my top artists right now. If I had to say an artist that I always go back to, it's probably always going to be Jill Scott.
I love her.
She is. To me, she is. If I could sing, I would be her because she's a poet. She started out doing poetry. Right. So if I could sing, God didn't give me that. But if I could sing, I would be like I'd have an album called "Who Is Cass" or something.
Yeah, right.
But she to me is such an amazing spirit. But just as far as new artists, she's really dope to me.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. Now you inspired me to listen. So now
check her out. I'll send you some songs.
I'm gonna definitely have to check her out. What has poetry given you?
Freedom. Freedom to not freedom of expression. Freedom of expression. I am not afraid to say what I want to say, and I'm not afraid to share it with people. And I haven't always been that way. Because I never knew how people would receive it until I started going out to the open mics and the audience would would receive me so well that it was like, maybe I do have a voice. Maybe my voice does need to be heard. Maybe the thoughts that I have aren't crazy because somebody is resonating with these people who I don't know. So it's giving me a freedom of expression.
Right. I love it. Is that why Cass is free? Is that why?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. My friend gave me this name, the same one that introduced me to belief in God, child, all those years ago. She told me that she always said, "You're just a free spirit. You're just a free spirit. You just always happy and smiling, and you just are just you." And she was like, that's going to be your name once you go out here and do this stuff. I was like, okay, sure. Okay. I didn't know it would stick in that, however many years, 14 years later, I'd still be using it, but it's me.
Where are you most surprised that you performed or read because of poetry?
My church.
The church.
Straight up. My church. This was, they didn't even know that I did poetry. And maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, I had just recorded something and somebody shared it. And my pastor saw it and he loved it. And he was like, "You gonna come to church and do that poem?" It didn't have nothing to do with God. It was more like a Black empowerment poem. But he was like, "I need you to come read that poem during Black History Month." And that's how he sounded when he talked to. "I need you to come." So I did it. And the church was like, yeah, that's right. Power to the people. And so I'm like, I didn't know what to do. So it's now just become almost like a tradition that for certain events, Mother's Day, holidays, like Christmas, New Year's, all throughout Black History Month, that, they look for me to speak. They look for me. My church congregation, they wait for me. They're like, "Are you doing a poem? I know you're going to do something. I know you got some fire for us." I'm like, "Why are y'all talking like this? You're supposed to say amen."
Amen.
Right.
Glory.
Right. Jesus. But yeah, that was the reception that I got from them was probably one of the most shocking because they didn't see it coming, but they loved it. And I was like, okay.
That's great. Okay. Who has poetry given you?
Ooh. All right. So I'm gonna answer off the wall. Poetry gave me my husband. I'll tell you why. In 2011, one of my friends, her name is Jacqueline Thomas Rome. She called me and she said, "I know a poet that's having a birthday party and she needs some other poets to just come out and bless her for her birthday." It was like her 50th or something, or 40th. She said she just needs some poets to come out and bless her. And I did not know this other poet, but I said, "You know what? I'll do it," because her birthday was right around our birthday. I was like, "She's Capricorn, I got her." So I went to the lady's birthday party. I met her, my first time meeting her. And so she had poets and then she had a singer. Her nephew was the singer. She put all our artists together. So he sat at our table and we just started chatting, just having conversation. And we hit it off where I could tell he was just a cool person. And I got his phone number because I wanted him to sing for me at my birthday party that was coming up like the next week. So I got his phone number for that. And then we ended up we just stayed in touch. And then maybe about 6 months after that, we were on a date somehow. And then a year later we were married. And now this May makes 10 years.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. Come on, poet. The poetry. You get these poems and you get this love. That's
right.
That's what I'm saying.
And I wasn't doing love poems because I really don't do them.
Right. Right.
So he just had to see something in me and want no love poems.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing. Yeah. Well, I love that story. I love that.
Great story.
We'll keep that in our little pockets and things.
Yes.
So what are you most proud of?
My children.
Wait. I was about to say, don't say your children.
No, but there's a reason for it.
And because I didn't ask the right question. That's why I was like, let me rephrase. What are you most proud of as pertains to you?
My children. My children pertain to me.
Okay, tell me why. Tell me why.
Okay, the reason I say it is because they are technically following in me and their dad's footsteps as artists, but they're doing it in their own way. They're doing it in their own way. My son is a dancer. and he sticks to it. This is just like he's passionate about it. His natural dance is amazing. So then when I put him in class, it really came out, and he's a star.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not just saying that because he's my boy, because if he couldn't dance, I'd be like, stop embarrassing
yourself. Don't do it.
But he's doing that. And then my daughter is a fine artist. She draws. Like, she can sing, and she does acting, and she does those things with her brother. But I think she does that because she wants to do them with her brother. But she's an artist, and she's like really at 7, she's learning the different techniques and things. And I'll come in and she'll be asleep on a YouTube video where she was learning how to draw something. She's taking it seriously. And I'm proud that I feel like that's something that we've instilled in our children, that if it's something you love, you go for it.
Wow.
So that makes me proud.
If you follow her, you'll know. See, I knew she was going to say that because I follow her on social media. You're one of the people that I actually read their posts. You know what I'm saying? I be reading the posts, you know. So when you don't come up in my timeline, I search your name so I can see what's happening on your page, right? So you're one of the people who I do that for. Let me see what's going on. Let me see these pretty kids. Let me see some Halloween costumes. Let me see somebody do a dance or sing or something. Right? So it's gonna be something up there. So I know that. So I knew that's why I was trying to stop her, because I knew that was one of the things.
But that would have been my answer. You could have worded it a whole bunch of ways, and that would have been my answer, because it comes from me. So it is still an extension of me. It's like, okay, I did that. I helped instill that in them, that dedication to the thing that you love. And they see me. Like, one thing people, when you asked before, how do I find the balance between like being an artist and being a mom? One of the things, especially when I got into slam, that I challenged myself with, because my kids are, I started slam, 5 or 6 years ago. So my kids were, 4 and 2, and they were loud. They're still loud, but they were loud, and they needed mommy. Yeah. I would run my poems in the middle of mommy, and I wouldn't drop it. That's how I built it. That was like an exercise for me to practice, to run my poems with them sitting there. But after a while, they stopped talking when I would run poems, and they became my audience. But they saw my dedication, and they realized that's what it takes to be great. And now they have that same dedication to their craft. So that's amazing. I love it. I love watching it.
I love that. I applaud you. I applaud you for that. Okay, so if I want to support you, right? But I don't have. Let me pull out my Alabama vernacular here. I don't have no $5. I don't have no money to buy no books right now. You're gonna have to wait till tax time, but I still want to support you. How can I support you with no money? How can I support you?
The easiest way, and I always tell people this, is to share. Like, if I'm posting that there's an event coming up or I have something going on, it costs nothing to share. It costs nothing to share, word of mouth. You can, I'm gonna add something to what I'm saying, but you can, when somebody makes a post and says they're looking for artists, you can tag a person's name.
True.
Now I'm gonna put a pin there and say, for me, I will not speak for anybody else. If it is an event where I do not know this person and they are not paying their artist, I would rather you not tag me, because I'm not gonna do it. I'm not.
You already said that online already one time.
I did. I made a post about it because I wasn't upset with the organizer of the event, because everybody has their thing. It just wasn't for me, and I let them know that hey, they tagged me in it, and I said, well, how many poems do you need? And that determines what my rate is. Oh, I was hoping you would do this for free. No, I'm really not interested. But he then came back with, because usually the artists pay us. And that was like a deep, dark, burgundy, maroon, red, velvet, red flag for me. I was like, who did what?
They pay you, or they pay to get in? Because that's a different thing.
No, they pay for like their spot.
I have been approached from people from New York or one of them Carolinas to book a spot and pay for your spot here. I was like, I'm not doing that. But thank you. I've never done that.
All right.
So
I'm like, no, exactly. And I'm at the point where I have exposed myself enough over the years. I have exposed myself to the people I wanted to expose myself to. I don't need you to give me exposure, because you got me because of the fact that I already have exposure. That's why I was tagged.
Right. I'm not doing that. No. I mean, I'll pay if you're having an event. That's different. Open mic. I understand that you have to pay for these spaces.
Yes.
I understand, the space still has to operate. So I'll pay to get in and perform, but I'm not paying to be your feature, your spotlight.
No, not at all. Not at all.
If you have a vending opening and I want to sell some books, I'll pay for a vendor spot.
For a table. Yeah.
For a table, but I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, so let's be clear. We just talking about it because like we too far in the game and we got kids and I ain't coming out the house. I'm not leaving my daughter and my husband to come out the house to pay you to pay you. I'm not doing it.
Right. Because I can't pay my light bill.
So organizers of events. You know, that's not the way you do it. If you don't have money to pay your artist, then don't do a show.
Don't have the event.
Don't have it. There it is. There you go. There you go. That's all your. That's everything right there. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna open up the floor for people who are watching us. If you have any questions for Cass, to type them in to the chat. I'm gonna bring my co-host back, but first, I'm gonna ask Cass to do another poem, and then we're gonna bring back and do this thing. So I'm gonna remove myself and give the screen to.
All right, so I'm doing a 1-minute poem specifically for Girl Genius because we were talking about 1-minute poems pre-show. Been studying to get my master's degree. Same one great granny wasn't afforded, cause see, how do you pay tuition when the cost is your life? Like how learning could get you lynched, reading books get you burned alive. Because educated Negroes are dangerous. So they stayed locked in cells and slave quarters the size of dormitories. Where the plantation be campus and the field be the classroom. The institution of slavery, where they get hazed for fraternizing with whites. And minorities major in tap dance and cotton picking. Write dissertations on the dissection of Black families. Study new math where whole people only equal 3/5. Where the only foreign language taught is English. Graduation march from the field to the house. Negroes wear nooses like honor cords. Pay for their room and board with blood, sweat, and loss of culture. Multiple degrees of pain and agony. No cap, just a gown to be buried in when they pass.
Wow. Uh-oh. My bad.
Stop.
Okay. Wow. I was like, you see it right. Every time.
I was waiting for like, how do you wrap this in a minute? I was like, please tell me how we wrap this in 60 seconds. That's really good.
Thank you.
That is amazing. I applaud you from as a granddaughter of a woman who had to leave college in the 20s. Yeah, I got to remember to write that down. My question for you is WALPS related. What one piece of advice do you have for a poet, say that this is their first time going to a national slam?
All right, so make sure. Okay, so with WALPS, and last year was my first WALPS, and a lot of people didn't know that because I ranked. But it was my first WALPS. But I came with, because it's a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, and 4 minute requirement. I came with multiple poems for each time. Don't go to WALPS with 4 poems and then a couple of poems if you, just in case you do somehow make final stage. I need you to come in with multiple 1 minutes, multiple 2 minutes. I mean, strong, multiple 3 minutes, multiple 4 minutes, because those ladies, that competition was on my neck, I'm telling you. So if you go in and you have 1 poem for each time, and then somebody that comes up right before you does a poem on the same topic and you know their poem was better than yours, now you stuck with a poem that's not as good as theirs on the same topic, and you have no choice but to do it because you weren't prepared. So please come with deep pockets, or just come in fellowship.
I might have to repurpose that clip for this week. Quick plug on your segment. If you are in the DC DMV area and you want to see who DC is sending for WALPS in 2023, come out this Friday, Busboys and Poets, Tacoma Park. We have our 8 finalists. And knowing the list as I do, it's going to be a hell of a slam. I got to say that out loud. Tickets are on sale now, busboysandpoets.com.
Somebody go live for me.
If it wasn't a WALPS, I'll put it to you this way. I want to live stream the slam. Listen, hear me out though, because somebody that is in the slam is in this call. I ain't going to name any names. I ain't going to, talk about them directly. But I want to live stream the slam because I know it's going to be dope. But I also know that because these are WALP's competitors, these poems may come up again later. So I do not wish to.
That's the only reason why I won't do it either. Just for that reason.
Yeah, I know.
Otherwise I would, because I know the slam is gonna be amazing.
Sounds like it. I can imagine some of the names on the list just based on the lady poets that I know are in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even the qualifier Friday was bananas, and Girl Genius, and I had somebody on my timeline like, yeah, I almost went out to that slam. I'm like, we would have had no room for you on that because
it wound up at, was it 10 people and a packed house.
10 people.
10 people slamming.
Dang.
Top 2 poets going in round 2 tied, and we went from 10 to 6.
That's a good cut.
Before the last poet went, there was a 3-way tie for 6. So there was a 3-way tie at 7. Not kidding. I'm like, because I was running scores. This is why I know. So y'all know this is, so y'all understand, if y'all listening, y'all don't care nothing about slam, understand this is a competitive sport.
Yes.
I'm sitting there going, like, I knew what to do when we had the 2, like we discussed it, squared away who was going first or second coming in round 2. I'm like, oh heck, what are we going to do with this 3-way tie if this person does not break the tie?
I would have broken my heart.
Yeah, because we would have been
drag them in, and whoever
get a spot, you get a spot. Everybody gets a spot. That's where I would have been.
I think with that, we would have had to let everybody go again, just because it would have really just left one person out.
Yeah, truly. There was like one anomaly, and everybody else was like, yeah. It was a good gradient had it not been broken.
Yeah,
that tiebreaker poem.
Look, I was waiting. Wait a minute, and how competitive was this Slam Friday? The girl that won, the girl that came in second, phenomenal. The girl that came in third walked up to me and said, "That's not who won the slam. I have the scores." She's like, "Did she get a time penalty?" I said, "Yep,
she did." She
took a time penalty instead. If had she
very big one at that,
the second place poet, she'd have won. And
she took a very big time penalty.
She took a huge time penalty,
and
came in second when that happens.
Wait a minute, and she came in second.
Right. That's what I'm hearing.
And I leaned over into her ear as they were announcing. I leaned in her ear and I said, "If you hadn't have taken the time penalty, you would have won." She's like, "I know, but I just really wanted to do that poem."
I will tell you, by the grace of God, that this wasn't one of those ones that, and I'm gonna take this time to lead into a question too. This is one of those times that, by the grace of whatever entity you choose to worship here, we weren't doing disqualifications at 4 minutes.
Yep.
Because it was right there.
It was a 3:10 round, and she went to 4.
No, it was 3:30.
Okay, I feel a little better.
It was 3:30 because of a typo, and she went 4 minutes. Like, I let a piece skate over 3:10 because I knew I had room. That's the only reason. Like, I did.
She has a 4-minute.
I walked that poem so slowly down the road. Like, I already know this is gonna. I have a little bit of room. Cool, I can do that.
Yeah. You have to play
she
it
hit the whole 4-minute mark, and I was like, "Oh my God, please be glad we are not doing this."
Yeah, and it was an amazing poem. It is really good, and for form, should she win next week, anything's possible. I don't know nothing. I just know that I'm supposed to be on stage hosting. That's all I know. She has an amazing 4-minute for when she goes.
Right. That's what it sounds like.
If she takes it as a 4-minute, it would do really well.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. At least she has that information.
If she takes it as a 4-minute, she would do really well with it.
So one thing about that, I was doing a podcast the other week, and I told him a lot of times I'll have a longer poem and I'll have another version of it. I don't have, if I feel like I love this poem as a 3-minute poem, but I really need a 2-minute poem for something, I might cut that. And now I have a 2-minute version and I have a 3-minute version, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can't use it in the same competition, but you decide which round you want to use it for. That way you don't necessarily get rid of the parts that you love, but you keep the parts that you most love for the 2 minutes. So it's okay. She might want to do that.
I have a 7-minute poem that I cut to a 3-minute for competition.
Edit.
You can do that, but
that's your friend.
That's the thing I was going to ask you about pockets, because this is one of the things that we don't talk slam too much on this show. And we've had plenty of slam poets, and we bring it up sometimes. And I think the most extensive conversation we had about slam, generally speaking, might have been with Ephraim.
Yep.
Ephraim was here, and
that was a good conversation.
Right. It skewed that direction with Ephraim. So, and that was a really great conversation. However, one of the things that we never bring up, and this is a general thing, it's not even just for slam, it should be like this if you plan on doing this long term, is pockets. Like, for people who are not familiar with the term, it's like, please have more than one thing sitting in your pocket. Please have more than one poem that's 1 minute. Please have more than one poem that's 2 minutes. Because if you need to swap on the fly, and we've seen it happen more times than I can count, you need to have something in there that you can switch out like quickly and say, this will work.
Yes.
Features, or hey, maybe this audience isn't built for this, or hey, you've gotten 3 trauma poems in a row during a slam and you were planning on doing a 2-minute trauma poem. Maybe you want to swap this out right quick. There's a such thing as audience fatigue. It will happen.
Yep.
One thing, and this is why I'm bringing this, the one thing I don't have, I will freely admit, I have 1-minute poems. I do not have a lot of 1-minute poems. Because I did not start writing short form poems until I started doing indie competitions like WAPs.
Okay. So for 1-minute poems, I have never written a 1-minute poem. I have written 3-minute, 4-minute poems that I then cut to a 1-minute poem. When you sit down and you say, I'm writing specifically for this 1-minute round, if you sit there and you try to write a 1-minute poem, you're going to have a 20-second poem because of the way that you're going to edit it. You have to just write the poem and then you cut it to meet what your need is. Don't sit down to write a 1-minute poem. Sit down to write a poem.
I have specifically written a 1-minute poem, but that was because I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. And that's the only time I've been able to do it like that. Any other time it's been an edit, cut, edit, cut.
Right.
I'm a big fan of cut.
Right.
But I did specifically write one because I knew that the statement was, here's this thing, here's the list, that's it,
Well, you're a girl genius, so you might have done that for that one. But like you said, when you tried to come back and do it again,
no, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it because you lose something in that when you do it that way. But this one, I knew it was super topic specific, so I was like, I know I can do this in a minute.
But if you're but genuinely, I'm saying this from the heart for those that are listening. Don't sit there and stress yourself trying to write a 1-minute, 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute poem. Write your poem and then do with it what you need to do with it.
Now that I think about it, the only one the poem I'm speaking of is the one I used for WAPs last year. It was my 1 minute from last year. I wrote that in one sitting, one take.
You did, and it went well. You did well with that poem. I remember that.
Right. That was probably it scored very high, but I would not recommend doing that as a normal thing. I'm a fan of like write and cut. But that was so topic specific that I was just like, yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Now, topic specific like that, you could probably get away with trying to write it in 1 minute and just hoping that it kind of falls in that time format. But like you said, I don't recommend you doing that, especially for a novice writer. You're gonna worry yourself to death trying to fit it. You gonna worry yourself to death. Oh my God, it's 48 seconds. Like, listen,
Just
don't
stop.
do that to yourself.
You just made a very good point. 1 minute poem means be less than 1 minute. So if the poem is 48 seconds and it's a fire 48 seconds,
it's perfect.
Run it.
Good point.
It's
Good point.
perfect.
Run
It's
it.
perfect.
One of the things that comes up especially with newer slammers, and we actually had somebody ask this on Friday. We had a couple of new people who had never slammed before at that slam on Friday. And one of the things that I've seen, Sherry will vouch for this. Somebody almost inevitably always asks, does it have to be 3 minutes? We give you a 3-minute round. Do you have this home have to be 3 minutes? I'm like, no, actually, I recommend it be less than 3 minutes. Don't write a 3-minute poem. Don't do a 3-minute poem. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just because we said it's a 3-minute round does not mean you have to have a 3-minute poem.
Right.
We actually recommend it be under 3 minutes, please and thank you, because I don't want to see you take a time penalty because you decided you wanted to, introduce yourself, play to the audience, and do a whole bunch of extraness.
Yes, and don't do that anyway. If you're slamming, don't you do that. Don't you introduce yourself and thank you when you finish your poem. Don't do that stuff. But another reason, you just said if it's a fire 48 seconds, guess what's also going to happen? The audience is going to have a reaction, and that's going to add more time to your poem because you're going to pause for 2 seconds to let them take in what you just said, take your beat, and then go back into your poem. So now you just added 4 seconds. And then if it happens again, you added another 4 seconds. And now you creeping right up, you creeping right up to where you didn't want to be time-wise. So,
and also if it's a fire 48 seconds and you skip a word, which kind of messes you up at minute 39, you have a few seconds to play with
to get it back.
To make it work. We didn't really mean to turn this into a slam conversation.
I'm sorry, y'all. I talk.
No, it's okay. No, it's also 100% slam season. This is where we're talking about Women of the World Poetry Slam, which will be in Baltimore at the end of March. So please support Cass. Hold on one moment. I just realized that the correct Cash App is not scrolling. Please go ahead and hit her Cash App, support her, help her get to Baltimore. The last week, March, it'll be an amazing event. I cannot wait. I don't know how involved I'll be this year, but I'll definitely be around. So that is, and then right after WALPS, not like right after, but pretty much in conjunction, right after WALPS comes Southern Fried Poetry Slam, and who knows what else. So there's national slams going on. So if you like slam,
well, you host a slam. You host a slam that is not it's for competition. It's for money. You host a slam all the time.
Who, me? Yes, I do. And we will be back to our regularly scheduled shenanigans at Busboys and Poets. We have our regularly scheduled Fourth Friday Slam at Busboys and Poets will return in February. This Friday, the WALPS final is the WALPS final. The tickets are $15 because we're also trying to raise funds to make sure that our person gets to Baltimore. But we are looking forward to Busboys and Poets to come apart this Friday. I'm looking forward to that slam this Friday. I'm catching up on all my sleep so that we can have a good, so that we're ready for this Friday.
Oh, get ready. The baby get ready. Go in, poet. Go in, poet.
Oh, and let me, and since I done brought it up, and in case anybody's listening and thinking about coming out, doors open at 7:30. The slam will start at 8 o'clock. Please be on time or you will miss part of the show. At 8, both preliminaries have sold out. I'm expecting Friday night to sell out. If you arrive at 8:30, please know that Busboys and Poets Management is already starting to sell your seat. Please be on time. Be on time. We know of at least a couple of people that their seat, because they got there at 9:30, their seats were sold. They got there after 9:30, so their seats were sold to somebody else.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can attest to the functionality of Busboys. Let's say the show started at 8. I seen KaNikki looking at 7:59 and 40 seconds. Hold up, I'm about to jump up on stage.
You know it.
Y'all be on time. Be on time. It's not like some other events where they play music for 32 minutes and then they say we get ready to start in 5 minutes, y'all. It's not one of those shows. Be there on time.
Actually, Sherry hosting style, and I think KaNikki has seen me do it. I tend to start 5 minutes early.
Yeah, if you have a room full, I'll start with my rules 5 minutes early.
Yeah,
I
if I have
like
a full,
that.
at full room, like I'll start at 7:55 because I'm going over rules. Turn off your phone.
Right.
Let's-
Show, but
you know,
the show won't start at 8.
but the show won't start at 9 o'clock.
Tell them, baby.
The show will start at 8 o'clock. The show starts at 8 o'clock
baby
on
telling
Friday.
y'all, the show gonna start at 8. And what we gonna say? Go in, poet.
Go in, poet.
Man,
Hey, sweetie pie.
look at that face. That's
Well,
the star right there.
Well, let's take a moment and now give a huge round of applause to our feature this evening, Cass.
Look, we on key. The key clap.
Girl Genius has had to step away, but we will all say goodbye. Her week we will be off next Sunday. If I can find an old show, I'm going to pop an old show up. I'll find one. And we will be back on February 5th, and will be her show. Let's talk about the book. Everyone, please stay safe, wash your hands, stay healthy. And we will see you all again on February 5th. Bye.
Bye.